why you're still not calm. You've done the breathing exercises. You've lit the candle, played the ocean sounds, even tried that mindfulness minute before work. And yet, the calm never stays. It slips away in traffic. It disappears with one rude email. It vanishes when someone talks over you in the meeting again. And deep down, a quiet frustration brews. Why can't I just stay calm? Why am I always one moment away from snapping? Why does peace feel like something other people have figured out, but not me? Let me tell you the truth. The reason you're still not calm isn't because you're doing life wrong. It's because the world has been teaching you the wrong definition of calm. They told you calm was soft, passive, a fragile thing you had to protect from the noise. But the Stoics knew better. To them, calm wasn't fragile. It was forged. Not in silence, but in storms. Not in control of the world, but in mastery of the self. And that's what this video is about. Because real calm, the kind that stays with you in the chaos, doesn't come from hiding. It comes from standing still in the fire. It's not about avoiding stress. It's about transforming how you face it. So if you're tired of faking composure, tired of being shaken by every interruption, every deadline, every unpredictable mood, stay with me, because there is another way. And the ancient Stoics left us the map, the calm you carry. Imagine this, you're in a crowded room. The air is tense, people are talking too loud, typing too fast. Someone snaps at you. Someone else cuts you off, but you don't react. Not because you're numb, but because you've trained something deeper. There's a calm inside you that doesn't rise or fall with the room. A quiet steadiness that says, I see this moment, and I choose not to let it shake me. That's Stoicism, not coldness, not detachment, but power, anchored in wisdom. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire during war, famine, and plague. Yet his writings show a man who kept his mind clear and heart steady. Seneca wrote letters of peace from exile. Epictetus taught resilience as a former slave. They faced far worse than emails and deadlines, and still they stood calm. Why? Because they practiced a way of seeing life that gave them strength no one could steal, and you can practice it too. In this video, we're going to uncover 5 Stoic lessons that will help you stay calm, not just when life is easy, but especially when it's not, because peace isn't a place, it's a practice. And the more you train it, the more unshakable you become. Let's begin. Lesson 1. Accept what you can't control. And now, as we step into the first of these Stoic lessons, let me guide you down a path that may feel strange at first, but it leads straight to freedom. Because true calm, the kind that doesn't shatter at the first gust of wind, begins not by doing more, but by letting go. The burden you were never meant to carry. Imagine a man walking through a storm with a heavy sack over his shoulder. Inside the sack are things he cannot change. Other people's opinions, the economy, his past mistakes, the weather tomorrow, what his boss will say next week. And yet, he clings to it like it's his job to carry the sky. He wonders why he's exhausted, why his back aches, why his steps feel so slow. But what he doesn't realize is this: the weight isn't in the world, it's in his refusal to let go of what was never his to hold. The wisdom of the dichotomy. Epictetus, the Stoic sage once bound in slavery, gifted us a map out of this burden. He taught what we now call the dichotomy of control, a simple but world-shifting idea. Some things are within your power, some are not. And peace lives in knowing the difference. You do not control the actions of others. You do not control how your partner feels today. You do not control the results of your hard work. But what you do control, your thoughts, your decisions, your values, your response. The rest is wind, and no man ever commanded the wind to blow softer, but he can set his sail. The office storm. Picture this: a regular Tuesday morning. You're in the office, emails flood in like rising water. Your manager criticizes a project you spent 3 late nights perfecting. Someone interrupts you mid-sentence in the meeting. Again. You feel it, tightness in your chest, jaw clenching, that old voice rising. This isn't fair. Why don't they see how hard I'm trying? But before you answer that voice, pause and ask instead, what here is mine to carry? Not their tone, not their expectations, not even their misunderstanding of your heart. What's yours is how you meet the moment, with calm, with clarity, with the quiet dignity of someone who no longer begs the storm to change, but learns how to walk through rain without getting wet. Letting go is not giving up. To modern ears, the word acceptance can sound weak, like surrender, like quitting. But to the Stoics, it was the opposite. It was strength. Because accepting what you cannot control doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care deeply, just not about illusions. You become precise, selective. You stop wasting energy on what was never yours to fix. You stop yelling at clouds, and you start tending to your garden. You water what grows, you cut what doesn't. You stop chasing and start standing. Marcus, the emperor, who surrendered nothing. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire. He could command armies, sign edicts, sentence men with a glance. And yet, he faced loss, betrayal, illness, a restless mind, things not even an emperor could bend to his will. But instead of breaking, he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That is not the voice of a defeated man. It's the voice of a man who found his anchor in a sea he could not calm. And if he could do it, so can you. The quiet revolution. Let today be the beginning of a quieter rebellion. The next time you find yourself wrestling with something outside your control, the traffic, the unexpected email, someone's bad mood, pause, close your eyes, just for a breath, and whisper within, "This is not mine." Return to your inner circle, your thoughts, your choices, your peace. That's where your true power lives, not in controlling the outside world, but in no longer needing to. A practice, not a one-time act. Acceptance is not a switch. It's a practice. You'll forget. You'll react. You'll grip too tight. That's okay. Each time you catch yourself clenching what you can't control, that's a chance to begin again. And that's the beauty of this path. It's not about perfection. It's about remembering and returning again and again until one day, calm becomes your default. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. A final whisper. So tonight, when the world quiets, ask yourself, what weight am I carrying that isn't mine? And what would happen if I gently set it down? Because sometimes peace doesn't arrive with a trumpet. Sometimes it enters softly when we finally stop trying to control the wind and learn to be still within it. Let this be your stillness. And let's keep going, because the next lesson will show you how to anchor in the present, where calm truly begins. Lesson 2. Live fully in the present. And now, after learning to release what you cannot control, we turn our gaze inward to the only place real peace can ever take root. Not in some distant future, not buried in memory, but here, in the quiet miracle of now, the vanishing moment. There's a story told among the old storytellers of a man who spent his life chasing peace like a shadow, always one step ahead, always out of reach. He said to himself, "Once I finish this job, I'll slow down. Once I fix my past, I'll breathe easier. Once everything is in place, I'll be calm." But every time he got close, peace disappeared again, like mist in the morning sun, until one day someone far older, far wiser, said gently, "You are walking past the garden, looking for the tree that's already blooming under your feet." That garden? That blooming tree? It's the present moment, and most of us miss it. The illusion of later. We live in a world that worships the future. Next quarter, next vacation, next version of yourself. And yet, when you finally get there, what happens? Your mind has already moved on to something else. The truth is, later is a lie. You'll never become calm if you don't practice calm here, now, in this moment, not when you retire, not when they finally understand you. Not when life becomes easier, but in the middle of it all, right where you are. Seneca and the present hour. The Stoic philosopher Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality. And oh, how often our minds drift, replay, regret. What she said last week, what you should have done differently 5 years ago, or the fear that tomorrow will come undone before it even begins. We time travel constantly. And the cost? We miss the 1 hour that actually belongs to us. This one. The gift of one breath. Try this. Right now, feel the air in your lungs. Notice the way your body rests in the chair. The sounds around you, the flicker of light, this tiny, ordinary second already slipping through your fingers. But wait, don't chase it, just be here. This is the doorway the Stoics pointed to. This is what Marcus Aurelius meant when he wrote, "Confine yourself to the present, not as a punishment, but as a portal." The present is not small, it's not boring, it's infinite if you choose to truly enter it. The modern mind's addiction. Today's world wants your mind to be everywhere except here. Every ping, every scroll, every algorithm pulling you into distraction. You are trained to split your focus, to always expect the next thing, to fill every quiet space with noise. But that restlessness, it's not your nature. It's your conditioning, and the antidote? Stillness. Deliberate presence. Just like a muscle, the ability to stay present must be trained. And yes, it's hard at first. But each time you return to now, you get stronger. Each time you catch yourself wandering and gently come back, you're building something rare, not just focus, but peace. A cup of tea fully seen. There's a small practice the Stoics might have smiled upon. Next time you drink your morning coffee or tea, do it slowly. Not while checking your phone, not while rushing to your next thought, but with your whole being. Feel the warmth of the mug. Notice the scent rising. Taste each sip like it's your first and last. It sounds simple, but don't be fooled. This is sacred work. To live fully in one moment, undistracted, undemanding, is an act of defiance in a restless world. And in that cup of tea, you'll find something more nourishing than caffeine. Presence. The past is a teacher, not a home. Yes, your past shaped you. Yes, it matters, but it's not meant to be lived in. The Stoics didn't deny the weight of history. They just refused to be buried under it. You are not your mistakes. You are not the story someone else told about you. You are the breath you are taking now. You are the choice you make next. This moment is your birthplace. Every time you return to it, you're reborn. Let the world be loud. Stay here. In the background, the world will keep shouting deadlines. Headlines, notifications, the past will knock. The future will call. Let them. You don't have to answer right now. Instead, come back to this second, to the quiet rhythm of your breath, to the space between your thoughts. And when you live here, you'll find something unexpected. Nothing is missing, not in this moment, not in your soul, not in the stillness you carry. A closing thought. So if you're looking for peace, don't look farther, look closer. Right here, right now, exactly as it is. Not once you finish the to-do list, not once you fix everything, but while life is still imperfect. Because the present is not the end of your journey. It is the ground beneath every step. And it is yours. Step into it fully, softly, completely, and watch your whole life change, one breath at a time. Let's walk together now toward the next lesson, where silence becomes your strength. Lesson 3, respond with silence, not emotion. Now that we've come to trust the present moment, there's another kind of power we must learn to carry quietly. The power to stay still when the world demands a reaction, because not all storms need to be fought. Some we simply must not feed. The fire that wants your fuel. There is a kind of person, maybe you know one, who lives off provocation. They speak with sharpness. They interrupt you not to understand, but to rattle you. They drop little insults like thorns along your path, hoping you'll step on one and bleed. And then they wait for your flinch, your defense, your emotion. Because to them, your reaction is victory. It proves they got inside. It proves they still control your peace. But what if you didn't react? What if your silence said everything? The power of the unmoved. In ancient stories, a lion does not roar before it strikes. The oak tree does not bend when wind whistles threats through its branches. And the wise man, the Stoic, when faced with noise, offers stillness. This isn't coldness. It's composure. It's the art of keeping your fire beneath the surface, letting others burn themselves out while you watch with clear, undisturbed eyes. As Epictetus once said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The insult does not injure you. Your attachment to it does. The challenge is not the problem. Your need to win, it is. The story of Elias, the silent storm. Let me tell you about a man named Elias. He worked in a high-pressure firm. Meetings were battlegrounds. Voices were weapons. One day a colleague, threatened by Elias's quiet strength, decided to humiliate him. He called Elias outdated, mocked his silence, tried to corner him in front of the whole room. But Elias, he didn't defend. He didn't flinch. He simply looked at the man and said, "Are you finished?" Then he turned back to his notes and kept working. The room fell into hush. The attacker deflated. Because what can you do to someone who refuses to be baited? Who doesn't need the crowd's approval? Who has already mastered the battlefield within? That's Stoicism in action. And you can do it too. The wisdom of the pause. When someone disrespects you, your instinct might scream, "Say something, prove your worth." But the Stoics whisper otherwise. Pause, breathe. Choose. Silence is not nothing, it's space. And in that space, you reclaim your power. It doesn't mean you don't speak eventually, but when you do, it comes from choice, not chaos. Stillness is not weakness. Let's clear something up. Silence is not surrender. Stillness is not weakness. It is strategy. Just like a seasoned chess master pauses before his move, just like the archer draws back before release, the Stoic waits. They respond, but not with fire, with clarity. Because when you erupt in defense, you announce to the world, "They got to me." But when you stay composed, you say, "You don't move me." And that is terrifying to anyone who tried to. The energy of restraint. Imagine walking into a room where someone says something passive-aggressive. A little jab meant just for you. Everyone looks your way. You smile, not a fake smile, but one born of inner wealth, and you stay silent. You let the words fall like stones into a river that doesn't ripple. That moment may feel small, but inside, something is happening. You're training. You're growing stronger. You're no longer living at the mercy of every breeze. And over time, people will begin to notice. They'll speak differently around you. They'll choose their words more carefully. Not because you demanded it, but because your calm presence enforces it. Words are weight. Use them sparingly. Seneca once wrote, "It is a great thing to know the season for speech and the season for silence." In a world that talks too much, the one who speaks less commands more. Why? Because when silence becomes your default, your words gain gravity. You're no longer explaining yourself to be understood. You're no longer performing strengths. You are strong, silence as your shield. When they misunderstand you, stay quiet. When they gossip, stay centered. When they twist your truth, stay still. Because here's the secret. You are not obligated to fix how others see you. Let them assume. Let them guess. Your life, your presence, your peace will say everything they need to know, and those who matter will feel it. A final reflection. So next time you feel that rise, that heat in your chest, that urge to react, stop. Let silence rise instead. And remember, you are not what they say. You are not what they expect. You are the one who didn't flinch, and that is unforgettable. Let's continue now to the next lesson, where we learn how to simplify our desires and lighten the burdens we carry. Lesson 4. Simplify your desires. And now, after we've learned how to meet the world with silence and inner stillness, we arrive at a quieter truth, a truth most people never dare to face. That much of our suffering isn't from what we lack, but from what we want too much. The path to calm doesn't ask you to gain more. It asks you to need less. The hidden weight we carry. Every day, we walk through life with invisible cravings stitched to our skin. We want to be seen. We want to be right. We want to be praised for our work. We want the world to go the way we pictured it in our heads. But we rarely stop to ask, at what cost? Because each of those desires, no matter how small, pulls on the thread of our peace. And one day we wake up tangled, exhausted, wondering why everything feels so heavy. It's not always the job. It's not always the people. Sometimes it's the wanting that drains us. Seneca and the Secret of Having Enough. The Stoic philosopher Seneca once warned, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." What a strange idea, isn't it? That you can have a full fridge, a warm home, a steady job, and still feel empty. Why? Because craving doesn't come from lack. It comes from the illusion that something else out there will finally complete us. And the Stoics, they called that illusion by its name, a trap. The endless climb. Modern life whispers to you constantly, you should be further by now. You need more followers, more dollars, more validation. You should be thinner, richer, faster, happier. And so you climb, you reach a little higher, then higher still. But the peak keeps moving. You chase one promotion, then the next, one compliment, then another. You refresh your phone hoping for likes, but none of it ever feels enough because the game was never designed to end. It feeds on your wanting, but you don't have to play it. The peace of needing less. The Stoics taught that freedom begins not by possessing everything, but by desiring only what truly matters. Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that you don't need everyone to understand you. You don't need that coworker to change. You don't need to prove your worth to the world. You already have what you need: a mind, a breath, a choice. And the moment you see that clearly, you are free. The man with the quiet smile. There's an old story about a man named Dorian who lived in a small cottage near the edge of town. He didn't have much. His shoes were scuffed. His coat was thin. But every morning, he'd walk into the village with a quiet smile and soft eyes, calm, composed, content. People would ask him, "Dorian, how do you stay so peaceful?" He'd simply say, "I only take with me what I can carry inside. No resentment, no envy, no need to impress, just enough." And somehow, he always seemed richer than the rest. Subtract, and you will see. You don't need to move to the mountains to simplify. You don't need to throw everything away. But maybe, just maybe, you can subtract one thing today. Let go of one craving. Release one mental checklist. Silence one voice that says, "I'll be happy when." Do that once, then again tomorrow, and again after that. Soon your life starts to breathe. Space opens. Stillness returns. Because simplicity is not just aesthetic. It's medicine for a crowded soul. Desire is not the enemy, but the mirror. To desire is human. We all long for love, safety, connection. But Stoicism teaches us to ask, is this desire serving me? Or is it ruling me? If it steals your peace, if it makes you chase approval, if it keeps you up at night, it owns you. And what owns you controls you. But when you reclaim your desires, when you shrink them down to fit inside your values, they become your allies again. They stop screaming. They start guiding. Enough is a practice. To live with enough is not a static place. It is a moving target, a daily decision. There will be days you want more. You'll scroll through someone else's life and feel small. You'll compare. You'll forget. That's okay. Just return. Ask gently, what do I truly need right now? The answer will often surprise you. Because more often than not, you'll find the real need is not outside you. It's the quiet permission to stop chasing. A closing reflection. So tonight, as the world spins its glittering wheel of more, choose to step off. Sit with what you have. Hold it in your hands. Feel its weight, its enoughness, and ask yourself, if I had less noise in my mind, would I hear more peace in my soul? That is the invitation of this lesson. Not to retreat from life, but to live it clearer, cleaner, lighter, not because you owned more, but because you finally knew what not to want. Now let us walk onward into the fifth and final lesson, where pain becomes fuel and every hardship becomes your forge. Lesson 5. Turn struggles into strength. And now, after we've learned to let go, stay present, remain still, and simplify, we arrive at one of the hardest and most powerful truths the Stoics ever gave us. That pain is not punishment. That challenge is not the end. In fact, it is the beginning of something deeper. Because the Stoic path does not run from suffering, it transforms it. The stone in the path. Imagine a traveler on a long road. The way is winding and the sun is low, and just as he rounds a bend, he stumbles. A large stone blocks his way. He curses. He sighs. He looks up at the sky and says, "Why now?" But then he remembers something he once read, a phrase that echoes, slow and quiet. What stands in the way becomes the way. So instead of turning back, he leans in. He rolls the stone. He uses it to build a step. And with that effort, heavy, clumsy, real, he finds himself not blocked, but elevated. That stone, once his enemy, became the very thing that raised him up. Marcus Aurelius and the fire that consumes nothing. This lesson was not written by a man who had an easy life. Marcus Aurelius ruled during plagues, betrayal, war, and endless loss. And yet, in the margins of his personal journal, never meant for public eyes, he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. The obstacle on the path becomes the path." He did not avoid hardship. He didn't pretend to like it. But he saw it clearly. He understood that life isn't asking us to be untouched. It's asking us to use what touches us wisely. When struggle becomes the teacher, there's a quiet shift that happens when you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and instead whisper, "What is this teaching me?" The missed opportunity. Maybe it taught patience. The harsh boss. Perhaps it trained your self-control, the silence from someone you loved. Maybe it reminded you to turn inward, to deepen your own roots. Life's hard moments are not just storms to survive. They are lessons carved in wind and fire, but only for those willing to listen. The flame and the blacksmith. A blade is never born in comfort. It's shaped in heat, struck with force, held in flame until it glows red with potential. And you, your heart, your mind, your will are no different. Your disappointment, your heartbreak, your restless nights, these are not wasted. They are hammers. And though they sting, they do not break you. They shape you. Each struggle you've survived, each weight you've carried, has left you stronger, not weaker. You just haven't seen it clearly yet. Do not despise the trial. The Stoics did not glamorize pain, but they also did not fear it. They knew that adversity reveals more than it destroys. It tests your principles. It clarifies your values. It strips away what is false. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." And Epictetus, once a slave beaten by his master, still said, "Difficulties are things that show what men are, so don't rush to escape the hard moment." Don't numb it, don't deny it. Instead, enter it. Fully, wisely, ask it what it came to teach, and listen with the ear of a soul ready to grow. The alchemy of pain. In every season of life, we are handed moments we never asked for. Illness, loss, change, rejection. And though they arrive uninvited, the Stoic sees them not as enemies, but as raw material. Pain becomes depth. Fear becomes focus. Loneliness becomes solitude. This is the quiet alchemy of the Stoic life, turning what could break you into what remakes you. You are not fragile. Let's be clear. You are not made to shatter. You may feel tired, you may feel bent, but inside you is something far older than anxiety, far wiser than panic, a deep, silent strength, and it wakes up not when things go smoothly, but when you are forced to rise without applause. When you breathe through the ache, when you keep walking, not because it's easy, but because you've chosen to. That is not fragility. That is fire. Let your scars speak softly. If you've lived long enough, you carry scars, not always visible, but real. Some were left by others, some by yourself. But the Stoics wouldn't ask you to hide them. They'd ask you to honor them, because your scars aren't signs that you failed. They're signs that you endured, and they whisper to others, "You're not alone." That too is strength. A closing reflection. So when the road gets hard, as it surely will, pause, breathe, and ask yourself, what if this is the forge? What if this is not punishment, but preparation? Because sometimes the very thing you thought would ruin you becomes the reason you rise wiser, quieter, steadier. And on the other side of that struggle, you don't just survive, you become. Now, as we prepare to close this journey, let's return to where we began, with a soul quieter, a mind clearer, and a heart more anchored than before. And now, dear listener, we've walked together through the fire and the stillness. You've learned to release what you cannot control, to root yourself in the present, to hold your silence like a shield, to lighten the weight of your desires, and to turn your pain into something noble, something deeply yours. These aren't just lessons, they're seeds. Plant them slowly, water them daily, and let them grow in the quiet corners of your life. Because Stoicism isn't about becoming someone new, it's about returning to the version of you who was never shaken by noise, never ruled by fear, never broken by storms. That version is still there, waiting. And now you know the way back. If this journey stirred something in you, if it reminded you of your strength, your stillness, your quiet fire, then I invite you to stay close. Subscribe to the Stoic Philosophy, not for noise, not for hype, but for depth, for practice, for peace that holds even on your hardest days. And if this message spoke to your heart, share it with someone who needs calm more than noise, who's ready to step off the treadmill of urgency and back into something timeless. And finally, if you want more guidance like this, watch the next video on how silence isn't weakness, but the ultimate form of power. Until then, breathe deep, stand tall, and walk gently through your day. Because calm was never out there. It was always waiting within you. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Marcus Aurelius. Let's keep the soul steady. Together,